Hi, I'm Sam, and this is Team Stock Politics. I'm joined today by my co-host Andrew, and today we're going to be talking about the debt limit in the United States government. It's been a huge political issue for the past long while, ever since the country was founded, and the issues, especially among conservatives and Democrats, is that what should we do with this money? It's not making, on the one hand, it's not making Democrats look. It's not allowing people to get paid their government salaries. But on the other hand, we can't just keep spending money. And these are different arguments, and we'd like to kind of present that today. And so first, we'd kind of like to talk about um, the kind of the no compromise situation, where you can't have a middle ground between if you want a debt limit raised or a debt limit decreased, because there's just no, it's not physically possible for these employees to get paying half checks. So Andrew, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, first of all, you call it the debt limit. It's called the debt ceiling,
That's
and
what it's
also,
just slang,
uh,
man.
no one calls it
It's
the debt limit. Name one person that calls
huh?
it the debt limit. See, you can't name any.
Shut up.
But yes, people call it the debt ceiling. Literally everyone refers to it as debt ceiling. So this non-compromise in the U.S. government is kind of frightening because it did
CNN.
happen back in the '90s, and
CNN
what?
calls it.
What? It happened. It happened back in the '90s where the government got shut down because Newt Gingrich refused to let it pass the House to raise the debt ceiling budget. And basically, what happened is Newt Gingrich, his plan was for the American people to turn on Bill Clinton, to try to blame it on Bill Clinton for not being able to pass this and not let government workers be paid, not let the government reopen. What ended up happening is the public completely turned on him, and he was made to be this kind of a baby almost, as someone that won't get their way, they shut down the government. And that's what Trump did very similarly back when he was president, in refusing to budge and compromise whatsoever on his border wall and decided to shut down the government. And we could see a similar situation turn out with Republicans not compromising on this, raising uh, the ceiling, the budget, sorry, the debt ceiling.
Exactly. All right,
What?
continue.
The debt ceiling on for the government to be able to pay their workers. And I feel like that might happen this time around. If Mitch McConnell doesn't budge in the Senate to let the debt ceiling budget be raised, he's going to try to make that look bad on Biden. And I think possibly this time the public will turn on Mitch McConnell instead of Joe Biden.
Which makes
And I think that's
sense.
a very real thing that could happen.
Which make
It happened back in the '90s. Why not
Yeah.
now? Why could it not happen now? The person that's actually blocking it from passing gets blamed, not the person that is basically being framed for not letting it be passed.
Yeah, this turnaround
And I
effect.
think that's a major problem the Republicans are going to have to turn into.
This turnaround effect is very common to see when when one party is trying to block legislation, and the American people see right through it. It's not that the American people are like smart or not smart enough to know about this. It's really just the fact that that everybody knows that it's not going to be the president's fault for trying. And when people, like, for example, Mitch McConnell, if they were not saying that he will, but if they try to block this legislation, it's almost certain that Biden will be blamed, and it could turn around to Mitch McConnell. The reason being is the American people know that this is what they're trying to do, and it's pretty obvious. And to kind of take advantage.
I just got a notification. The Senate Republicans have officially blocked the nation's debt limit, debt, the debt ceiling. Sorry,
I told you.
And so it did not pass the filibuster.
So
So it's now official.
Yep.
It's not expected to pass the Senate now. It's
So we'll get
officially
back
now
to
passed
that
the Senate.
later, but
And we'll see. Compromise is gonna have to
yep.
happen.
And
And the only way that we're going to not have to shut down the government is to go with what the Democrats want to do, and that is to raise the debt ceiling.
mhm.
Because what is happening at this moment is that let me actually look at my numbers. I believe it was October 15th. Between October 15th and November 4th, the government is expected to run out of funds and not be able to pay federal workers, and that will lead to a government
And who
shutdown.
do you think? And whose problem do you think this is going to be? The people who told the people that they're not going to lower the debt ceiling, or do you think or do you think it's going to be Biden's fault for not trying his hardest, even though he really has been and trying to push this agenda? But we know people like like Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has been
Are you asking whose problem it's going to be or whose fault it is? Because you asked both of
whose
those.
fault and whose problem really. It's gonna.
It's going to be America's problem,
Yeah.
and it's going to be Mitch McConnell who's blocked it in the Senate and all other 50
I mean, if
Republicans.
you think about it,
Actually, I don't know if it's all 50,
everybody
but
has
at least not 10.
everybody has staff, everybody has campaign aides, and the staff, especially more leading to these more moderate, um, the staff leaning to, I'm sorry, the staff leaning to more moderate people. Someone who's very close to me, um, is currently a registered Democrat and worked on the staff of John McCain, and it's not that these more, and we can probably both agree on that John McCain was probably not as hardline as some of these far right people today. But besides the point, these staffers, junior staffers and above, are gonna get mad not at Biden for not doing anything, even though he's probably trying to, but we'll get back to that later. They're going to get mad at the people who supported this bill and who filibustered it. And so I think it was probably not the wisest move on Mitch McConnell and his posse in the minority of the Senate to continue this. And
Yeah,
it
and
might turn
yeah.
into their problem, but right now it's not looking good for anybody.
I don't think it's going to turn into their problem because it already is their problem. You have these House Republicans who are not budging. They did not vote for it. Of course, that doesn't matter. It's the House. There's no filibuster in the House. There used to be, however, that was removed some time ago, and it was able to pass the House. No problems at all. The Senate, only a few hours ago, was not expected to pass the Senate, and now it's official. It has not passed the Senate. Mitch McConnell and the other Republican senators have blocked it from being able to be voted on with the filibuster. And you have the problem where the reason Republicans are refusing to budge on this is they don't want to make it look like they're putting America into greater debt.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had voted, so let me rephrase that. So if Democrats, as they are, they're voting for the debt ceiling to be raised, but the problem that Democrats are going to be facing is it's going to look like Democrats are the ones spending all the money. And of course, that is true right now. They're in charge of all branches of government except the judicial system. And you have Republicans, like I said, they want to look like the party that's saving money, not spending government money. And it just isn't working. You
Yeah,
have to compromise at one point. You
and
can't
number
just
one,
let federal government workers be left unpaid.
number one, I haven't been looking too much at the statistics at this, but for number one, it's possible this will help maybe expand the expected Republican red wave in the midterms and these in the upcoming elections in November. But so it's a wise move by them, but it couldn't end them up in some deep water. They they don't want to spend money, as you were saying, because they don't want to look like the party who's putting America into financial chaos. And while their argument is true, we just know it's political. Like their argument being that we just don't want America to turn into financial chaos. That's bullcrap. They just want to not look like that party. They're gonna keep trying and trying, and they'll keep succeeding for a small group of people that they're going to be the party to restore America's integrity with a less debt. It's BS. It's just don't fall for it. They're just trying to look like the good guys here, and while simultaneously losing jobs for hundreds of federal employees.
You basically stole the words right out of my mouth. I was about to call this BS because you have to really call out Republicans on this. If you are a regular human being that is a federal employee, you should be genuinely scared of losing your paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
While the government is shut down, I think most people know you don't get paid if you're a federal worker. If you have Republicans that just aren't going to budge to pass something in the Senate so that the government can run, you have to call out their BS, because this is not how you serve your country, by refusing to get funds towards the federal government. Yes, it's going to be raising our debt right now,
Yeah.
and there's no foreseeable path towards the future where we're going to be getting out of the debt that we currently are in. It's going to be very difficult for future leaders to get us out of debt when we are so deep right now in the amount of debt and the amount of money we owe as a country. And I think, yes, we're going to continue having to have this mountain of debt that we're going to have, and we're going to have to later on pay off. But if we don't borrow more money to raise the debt ceiling, we're going to not be able to pay off our interest from debt that we already have. We're not going to be pay off workers. We're not going to be able to pay for a lot of the things that the Biden administration is going to try to get through. There is not a single way forward where we do not pass the hiring of the debt ceiling. There is no path forward, regardless of who's going to win in 2024, whether it's Biden wins another term, Kamala Harris wins, Ron DeSantis, Trump, Mike Pence, whoever is in the White House. If you don't have money to do anything because we don't raise the debt ceiling, that's not going to happen. The government's not going to be shut down for 3 years, but hypothetically, as a hypothetical, they cannot do anything. When you don't have money, the government cannot run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that Republicans are going to have to look at.
And they realize this.
Compromise.
They know this is going to be a risky maneuver to try to shift the blame on the Biden administration and Democrats in the Senate. But they know this is a risky maneuver, and they know it's a high possibility for them the people turning on them. But it'll show something, and yeah, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see. I do not think Republicans are going to budge until the government is shut down. And if that is true, I think it's going to be very interesting to what Republicans actually fall down to, like the actual American people that say, I want to be paid, I'm a federal worker, I need a paycheck to pay my bills, when you can't simply put in a vote saying, yes, I want the government to run, because that is basically what this bill is at this point. Yes, it's increasing the debt that we're going to be borrowing, or the amount of money we're borrowing to increase our debt. The amount of interest will go up because we're borrowing more money. But at this point, you can't do anything without raising the debt ceiling. You literally cannot do anything. Like I said before, nothing can be done. And Republicans are going to have to fold. One point or another, they're going to have to fold. Whether it's their constituency in their own states that are going to force them to vote for this, or from their own mind saying, okay, look at this this BS that I just voted for. How about I vote consciously and actually vote for the government to keep running?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's quite sad to see that Republicans are going to have to be forced by a government shutdown for anything else to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they should just know anyways.
Do you think this confirms an immediate government shutdown once the paychecks can't be delivered? Or do you think there's an alternate route to escape?
I mean, what other alternate route would they have at that point?
That's my point exactly.
They're basically going to have to.
It's toast, and soon enough, they're going to come back to bite them in the butt.
And I think that's pretty clear. Like I said, and I've mentioned this so many times, compromise is the only way to get through this. You can't get done with a shutdown without either the one party or the other folding. Whether it's the American people's outrage that the fact that the federal government is shut down, or they understand that, okay, maybe we shouldn't have the government shut down. How about I fold, compromise on this bill or whatever the argument is about, get things done, and to reopen the government.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of sad that it's going to have to come down to shutting down the government for any work to be done, for any compromise to be done in Washington. And I think that's what it's going to ultimately come down to, a government shutdown.
Yep.
And we're just going to have to see how long it lasts, because at this point, it's inedible. You have Republicans not budging, and it doesn't look like they're going to budge anytime soon. The only logical step forward is to shut down the government. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the next week, Republicans will decide, how about we don't shut down the government? But at this point, it looks unlikely. It's not passing the Senate. Does not look like Mitch McConnell is going to budge on this. And it's basically whatever Mitch McConnell says goes. Because if Mitch McConnell decides to vote for this, a bunch of other Republicans will see, okay, there's political cover. How about I also vote for this?
I've never seen truer words been spoken.
But it does not look likely at this point. Because Mitch McConnell, he's probably going to retire next few years or at the end of his term. But he also wants to keep his leadership in the Senate. And if it means not voting for this, at least while he's not having a bunch of pressure on him by the public, he's not going to vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's about time to wrap this episode up. I don't think there's much to say. It's only been going on for about 17 minutes, but Sam, David, any last thing?
Our second shortest episode.
So anyways, thank you for watching.
Yeah, but it's just absurd that it's had to come to this. Of a possible and imminent government shutdown, more than possible, and it's sad that this is what the Republican Party has resorted to, literally shutting down a government in order to make some sort of relevance or statement.
So anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to tune back on Friday for the weekly news. See you then.